What's up, guys? Today we're going to talk about interesting ways people have been using Claude Code, including this guy teaching his dog how to vibe code games. Let's dive into some interesting use cases so that you can get some inspiration or ideas for projects that you're working on. First, let's start with the guy who taught his dog how to vibe code games. This one is really interesting. So there's this 9 pound Cavapoo Momo. So specifically a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel and Toy Poodle. I don't really know dog breeds, so I'm guessing it's a mix of all of those. And he taught it how to vibe code games. So here is the overview of how he did that, which is really fascinating. So the dog's name is Momo, and essentially Momo types on a Bluetooth keyboard that's proxied through a Raspberry Pi 5. And what's so interesting is that those keystrokes go through a Rust app called Dog Keyboard. I've never heard of that app in my entire life, and it forwards the rest to Claude Code. So what's so fascinating is that when Momo has typed enough, Dog Keyboard triggers a smart pet feeder to dispense treats for him. How crazy is that? And what's so interesting about this as well is that a chime tells her when Claude is ready for more input. So when I saw this, I was so fascinated to kind of understand how the prompt works. And this person that built it lays it all out. This is the prompt. Hello, I am an eccentric video game designer who communicates in an unusual way. Sometimes I'll mash the keyboard or type nonsense, but these are not random characters. They are secret cryptic commands full of genius game ideas, even if it's hard to see. Your job, you are a brilliant AI game developer who can understand my cryptic language. No matter what odd or nonsensical input I provide, you will interpret it as meaningful instruction or idea for our video game. You will then build or update the game based on that interpretation. So that is so interesting because when I first came across this project, I was so interested in trying to understand how the person took the gibberish that the dog typed and turned that into actual usable prompts. And I've never thought to build a prompt in that way. So it's like so fascinating because now you can have your 3-year-old who doesn't know how to type just bang on the keyboard and it'll build an app or it'll build a video game. So it's so fascinating. So here's a cute picture. This is a keyboard for Momo. And what's so fascinating is that originally this person thought about plugging in their keyboard to their computer, but they figured that was a bad idea. So instead they routed the keyboard input through a Raspberry Pi first so that it could kind of see how things go. And I think what's so fascinating is that the way that training dogs work has to do with how you reward them. So this person understood that honestly, motivating Momo is easy. She'll do anything for the right food reward. So what the person thought of was, okay, so how can I use that instinctual behavior that she has to have her actually build an application or a video game and have her rewarded for doing so that she continually comes back and prompts Claude in building the video game. So I thought that was really fascinating. Now, let's get into the second use case that I found really fascinating. This is where NASA used Claude Code to do the first AI planned drive on another planet. So you might read that headline and think, what the heck does that mean? I was exactly the same. And after I started diving into it a little bit more, I understood the complexity of it. So it's actually really fascinating. I'll break it down for you guys. Essentially, when NASA sends a robot or a machine to Mars, it takes a lot of work to plan out that rover's route, interestingly enough. So before, NASA and the team would have to manually go through the 500 different variables that are needed to plan a successful route for the rover. And we have some great simulations here that provide an example of what some of those variables look like. There's so much detail that goes into literally just having the rover go from point A to point B that it goes a little bit over the average person's head because it definitely did mine. So what's really cool and where Claude came in is that it actually took those variables and then helped expedite the planning process for that route for the NASA team. By the time they received the final output, it's actually really fascinating. They said that it barely needed any major changes, just some minor updates. What's really cool about this project is that since it's the first of its kind, this has unlocked so many interesting use cases for the future. For example, the kinds of autonomous capabilities that Claude showed on the Mars rover drive, quickly understanding novel situations, writing code to operate complex instruments, making smart decisions without too much handholding, are exactly those that'll prove useful on longer and more ambitious space missions. So, what's really interesting is that NASA has an upcoming Artemis campaign, which it aims to send humans back to the moon and to eventually establish a US led base on the lunar South Pole. Doing so will involve so many engineering challenges. And before, if you think about the technology that people had to put a man on the moon, was literally just the technology of your phone. Now we have so much better capability, and that's going to be able to help that journey for NASA so much. For some other interesting cases where people have used Claude Code to build their project, I think it's worth mentioning the recent hackathon that Anthropic threw, and let's take a look at the winners. I believe there was prizes for the top 5 projects, and what's really interesting is that 2 or 3 of the 5 people who won were not technical or do not have a developer background at all. So it just kind of shows what you can do with Claude Code if you're willing to learn something new. Now, for the first place prize for the Claude Code Hackathon, this is Crossbeam by Mike Brown. And so this project is really interesting because the pain point that it solves is that California builders lose months navigating permit corrections. So Crossbeam speeds up California's permitting processes by giving builders and municipalities faster tools for code compliance and plan review. Let's take a look at what that project actually looks like.
Everyone thinks California has a housing crisis. We don't. We have a permit crisis. That's why my entry for the Built with Opus 4.6 hackathon is called Crossbeam. My name is Mike Brown. I'm a California personal injury attorney, and in the last year, I've learned how to code. My goal is simple: use AI to solve real problems for real people. Recently, I was talking to my ADU builder friend Cameron. He started telling me about the nightmare of the California permit process.
The biggest problem with housing.
So the first 30 seconds of that, I think, are already interesting because there's a few points I want to call out. Number one, this person is a lawyer by trade. They did not go to school for coding. Number two, they specifically built a project that specifically targets a painful problem that someone experiences. It's the ability to build a product that not is only good, but that is actually useful and addresses a problem that people have. And I think that is the part that is missing from so many things that are being built today. Now, let's go into the person that got second place.
My daughter Elisa is in 7th grade. She's currently working on a science fair project where she's using microcontrollers to collect temperature and humidity data and display it on a web dashboard. I'm a software engineer, and over the past 3 months, Claude Code has completely changed how I work. I wanted Elisa to have access to the same power, but a terminal interface is not designed for a 12-year-old. So I built her one that is. This is Elisa, a block-based IDE where you design software by snapping blocks together.
What do you guys notice about this person that got second place? Well, they built a project for another painful problem. They wanted to teach their kid how to code, but an IDE or integrated development environment honestly isn't conducive, or it's a little bit intimidating, to be honest. But to build a programming environment where all you have to do is snap blocks together helps solve that problem and makes it kind of fun for kids to learn how to code. Now, let's look at third place.
Hi, my name is Miho. I'm a cardiologist. I work and live in Brussels, Belgium. My place of work is called the Cath Lab. This is where we treat the heart attacks. But for about 20 years, I've been also creating software for healthcare, and code is my happy place. Over the years, I have created many solutions. Drug search indexes, electronic health records, but my biggest project is called Previsit AI, and this is a special kind of AI agentic patient intake system that was the first of its kind implementation in Belgium and in Poland. I've always wanted to create.
Now, what do you notice about this person that got third place? They're a cardiologist, but this person does have traditional coding background, like you mentioned in the video. But it's amazing because you have these people that have full-time day jobs and they're just building these projects on the side during their free time. Now, That is a list of the current really interesting projects that people have been building with Claude Code. And I'm going to continue to monitor all the different ways and all the different projects that are being built. But these are some of the ones that currently stood out to me. I'm Timothy. I make videos on Claude and Claude Code. So stay tuned for some more videos. Thanks.